The original Metroid was released back in August 1986 for the Famicom Disk System, being published for the NES a year later. This game caught the hearts of many fans for its Mario-like platforming and its Zelda-like exploration, soon becoming one of Nintendo's most recognizable franchises, aside from literally anything else they've produced. But this gameplay style Metroid has sparked an entire genre of games based around it, called Metroidvanias. And let me tell you, there are some banger titles that follow this. Hollow Knight, the Shantae series, and don't ask what this game is because I won't tell you. These games have a lot in common, besides the backtracking that every single one of them has, but instead the 2D aspect. So when I heard of a 3D Metroidvania with the movement style being compared to Super Mario Odyssey, I knew I had to check it out. Pseudoregalia is this game, and oh my god, I absolutely adore it. Before I get too into this game, it's definitely one of those where you need to play it for yourself to truly experience it. So if you want to play this game, pause the video, play the game, it's like a 5-hour playthrough, and then come back to this video. In this game, you play as Sybil, a goat, bunny, cat lady person with way too much thigh. That's exactly how this game describes her, minus that last part, because there's so much thigh that the developer literally put the only accessibility option to give her baggy pants. Thighs aside though, you adventure through different areas of the map, schmooving around and uncovering what happened in this castle. Or I'd like to say this, as all we really know is that there's a bunch of these goat butlers around who only say funny things or little bits of lore. And there's also these signs around saying that there's a princess in need of saving. And that's all there is through lore. And just that there's a haze blocking certain areas, but we can still explore those. Essentially, there's no lore. And it's only until the literal end of the game, after beating the final boss, that we get somewhat of a lore dump, where the final boss is a person who's forgotten somebody and forgotten who they themselves are. But that's the whole reason why we're in this castle, to stop this person from hiding, pretending they don't exist, and to find something worth being awake for. Choosing photography, which if you're stooping this low, might as well just stop there. We tell them our names, which they vow to write down as soon as they wake up, as they don't want to forget us too. But ending with there's gotta be someone else that we have to help, fading to black as we get brought back to the title screen. Because as it turns out, the entire castle is in a dream realm of someone who knew the princess. And that's it. There's not much story for this game, but it doesn't really need it. Because where I think this game really stands out is with its graphic and visual style. If you have a keen eye, you may recognize these graphics as being somewhat reminiscent of old PS1 and N64 games. And yet, it's still such a visually impressive game. Like, you can't see goat thighs like these anywhere else. One thing that really stands out about how this game looks though is the frame rate. While other games seem to look very fluid in its animations, Pseudoregalia almost has a halved frame rate with those animations, which just adds to the whole N64 feel this game has. Even if the animations feel laggy at times and could lead to some weird input drops I experienced, it doesn't really affect how the gameplay feels. Each enemy also has this halved frame rate of sorts, making fights seem slow, but the game makes up for it with every fast-paced movement having almost a blur or shadow effect on it. And even the standstill animations are different depending on how much HP you have, and not to mention the different animations for when you do something that'll affect your speed. Like you can do a backflip to do some sick jumps to gain height, or even a bunny hop to keep momentum after gaining a lot of speed. Now, I want to get more into that later, but now let's talk about the audio design. All of the soundtracks in this OST do really well in capturing the essence of traversing an unknown castle, along with setting the mood for which part of the map you're in. In the dungeon part of the game, there's a chilling ambience with the soundtrack putting you in the shoes of Sybil, exploring a cold prison, but then changes pace when you encounter the boss into some sick-ass breakcore beats, only to slow down as soon as you continue exploring the next room with a new atmosphere, with that same N64 mood present in a pretty similar way. Even with the breakcore, it still keeps that N64 mood, only really being changed with that jungle beat. It's like if Bob-omb Battlefield had Ultra Kill music. Now, admittedly, as I continued playing, I opted for my own music, but that still didn't stop me from looking up the soundtrack and adding it to my library. And not even to mention the sound effects this game has, as each sound effect not only adds to the N64 feel this entire game has going for it, but also signifies what exactly is happening without you even having to see the screen to understand. The ground pound starts with this bass and then a spring to signify that you've just gained a massive jump. Meanwhile, the wall ride has this gliding on the edge high pitch to tell you that you're just gliding along a wall. Enemy attacks are, well, kind of underwhelming, but still give that sense of danger, as when they do hit you, this glass shattering sound effect plays, making you remember that even if the fight is boring, it's still dangerous. All of this cultivating and adding into the gameplay, which is where I feel the game truly shines. A majority of this game starting out is seeing an area, thinking, how do I get there? And just forgetting about it until you come back to that area when you have more abilities and movement options. But where other Metroidvanias fall at this with its difficulty, Pseudoregalia makes up for it with its movement. Now, I'm a massive sucker for movement in games. Like, I used to be a Trollger main on Team Fortress 2 before switching to Sniper, and Neon White is definitely one of my favorite games of the past couple of months just because of its movement tech. And then there's the entirety of B-hopping, which I would spend literal hours working on trying to get better at in CS, but then we all know what happened to that. So let me tell you, when I see a game with good movement, it's like a neuron activates, and Pseudoregalia has that neuron activation moment, as well as with the goat thighs. There's so much movement tech to do in this game, it's insane. Say you see a ledge that you want to know what's on top of. Well, of course you ground pound hop into a wall jump and backflip so you can get there. Obviously. But then you see this gap that's way too long to cross. Well, you can slide hop and gain a massive amount of forward momentum, or you can ground pound hop into a wall glide to easily cross it. The amount of movement in this game is insane, and it even plays into it with the time trials, where you can get different outfits when you complete them in a set amount of time. Movement even comes into play in the final boss fight, having different options to dodge each incoming attack, as well as being able to parry some. The movement just feels so smooth, and I definitely can see game devs in the future looking at this movement to take inspiration from it, because it's so clearly obvious that the dev of this game put a huge amount of effort into perfecting it. And the best thing about the gameplay is that when you get lost, you can just admire the goat girl. But really, I've only played a couple Metroidvanias of my own, and this is by far the best one. Everything about this game just feeds into what I like about those games I've mentioned so far. So, should you play Pseudoregalia? Well, it's kind of a long answer, but yes. Even if Metroidvanias aren't your thing, I recommend checking it out. It's still an amazing game, and if you're looking for a game to kill a couple of hours, then this game is amazing for that. It's really known for its fantastic movement, and everything else in the game just complements each other. And whether you're looking for a game to spend a couple of hours searching for an item to progress, or just a game with good movement because you already beat Mario Odyssey, check out Pseudoregalia. And no, this video isn't sponsored by the developer of it. I just really like goat thighs. That's all I got. I'll see you in the next one.